ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually viewing this meeting could raise your electronic hand, and for members in the committee room, just raise your hand. For the purpose of declarations, I would like to confirm that we will scrutinise items 4 and 5 on the Cabinet sub-papers. I will now move on to declarations, agenda item 2. Are there any declarations of interest? If any members have declarations in relation to any of the reports on today's agenda, can you please indicate now? Charlotte will email you a copy of the declaration form for you to complete and return.
Can't see any members.
Thank you, Charlotte. We will now move to the Cabinet agenda for pre-decision scrutiny. As previously mentioned, we have decided to scrutinise items 4 and 5 on the Cabinet sub-agenda. First item on the agenda, item 4. This is the Strategic Equality Plan Annual Report 21-22. Would the officers like to make any add any additional to the report?
There's no additional information I'd like to give at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have question on this. Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question relating to pages 7 and 14 on the impact assessment audits. I'm assuming that the reports on those audits would be going to Democratic Services Committee or a relevant committee. However, it appears there were issues raised enough to require training, and I was wondering if any information about what those issues might be, because I see impact assessment reports as a vital part of our scrutiny process and being aware and going forward. And also, wondering if that training was any training and any issues that were being identified, whether it was worth rolling out training to councillors as well, because I think we need to be aware and able to take account of those things. And sometimes it can feel just like a tick box exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Rhian Heaton, would you like to come back on that, please?
Yes, just to advise, training has been developed and is actually started to be held for officers over the next few weeks. It started at the end of last month. There is a session specifically for members and their role in looking at impact assessments as part of the decision-making process. And that is actually, I believe, in your diaries for November. Or a date has been earmarked for the training for November.
Thank you, Rhian.
Thank you. If it might be possible, Chair, to come
Reynolds,
back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are you happy with the reply?
I was just wanting to. Would it be possible to give a bit more information about what the issues were that were identified? Thank you.
Rhian?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Sorry, yes. The issues are mainly around completing IIAs in a timely manner and the content and what we need to be looking at more closely within the IIA process. There are some there are some amendments that need to be done in light of the audit to the process itself, and not only in respect of the equality side, but also in respect of the Welsh language side, which we are looking at as well. The information from the audit has been that maybe the IIAs are not completed in as good a manner as possible that they could be, and also whether they are being used for all of our decision-making processes, not just matters that come as reports, but the procedures and our working practices as well. That also needs to be considered as part of the IIA process. But further information will be available as I say, when we get all the information back. We've only just had the latest information from Audit Wales, I never know which one it is these days. That only came through last week. And it should have been with us in July. So we are still looking at that.
Thank you, Rhian. Councillor Reynolds?
Thank you. I had another question that answers the questions on that, and that's very helpful. Thank you. I had a question on page 34 and the bullying in issues on page 23. Very interesting information about the Estin reports on sexual harassment in schools, etc., coming through, and information there. I understand that the issues in the primary curriculum will be picked up with the training and the development of the new curriculum going forward in schools. However, the report from Estin focused mostly on secondary education. It's of real concern in terms of equalities and in terms of moving forward. So can that be an issue which, and I know the chair is here, that the Education Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee picks up and carries forward as to how that's being tackled in our secondary school system?
Councillor Reynolds. Councillor Phillips, please.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy with that, Councillor Reynolds. Thank you.
You happy with that, Councillor Reynolds?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I got a hand up, maybe? No, it was Councillor Reynolds. Okay. Are there any more questions on this? Thank you all. So we'll move on now to item number 5, which is the Welsh Language Promotion Strategy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed a bit. The recommendations are listed on page 8 of the Cabinet sub-agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder? Thank you, Chris. And a seconder, please.
Second, Chair. Councillor Phillips.
Councillor Phillips. Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Thank you. If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to the Cabinet Subcommittee. Okay. There are no people against, so that will go forward. Sorry, now we'll move on to item 5 of the Welsh Language Promotion Strategy 21-22. Officers, would you like to add anything additional to the report?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We do have some questions already for this item. Could I ask Councillor Sean Percy, please?
Diolch, Cadeirydd, thank you. Yeah, a couple of brief sort of points and questions, really. Firstly, around staff and elected members using Welsh, which was a point on page 8990. Obviously, I've spoken to Rhian about this a little bit already. But there's a statement made in the report around maybe providing a list of phrases and words for meetings that seems to have kind of been discounted. And I would really stress, I think that would be a really simple action that could be taken to help elected members. And I'll raise the example, as a new chair, I was given a script to kind of help me as the chair, which was brilliant. But it had, you know, good morning members, thank you. There's no bore daddy, there was no Welsh on it at all. And you know, I'm a Welsh learner at the moment, and I sort of rewrote it and put a few phrases in. But obviously, there's lots of, you know, language you'd use in council meetings, things like cadeirydd, chair. You don't use that. That's not common Welsh for somebody who's not a fluent Welsh speaker. So I think it could be quite a simple action, certainly for elected members. And I would really stress that could be something that could be done quite quickly and quite easily, just to raise the profile a little bit. So I just wanted to kind of stress that point, because it feels like it's kind of been pushed aside, like it's not really important. But it really depends who's in the room. Sometimes we can have you know, some Welsh speaking members in the room, and it's a slightly different environment. So the second thing I wanted to pick up was around third-party organisations who've taken on council assets, which was really interesting to see, actually, because it's something that I've been discussing with colleagues recently. Obviously, we've got lots of different assets that have been transferred, but you know, libraries is a key one, actually. where there's definitely a disparity where the transferred organisations aren't bound by Welsh language standards. I can see from last year's report, and I'm obviously not quite sure because we've changed the period, how much time has kind of passed between writing that one and this one, that we were hoping to kind of consider how to help those organisations put together policies and promote the Welsh language. I'm just wondering, we've kind of hoping this year that we'll be able to consider it again. I'm just wondering if you've had any thoughts on kind of how to progress that. Obviously, I mentioned libraries as one example. There's lots of different things, but that might be one where you could actually focus on quite a small number of organisations and find out what their barriers are. Do they need to be offered training that the council could pay for example? Do they need, translation support? Is that there and they don't know? There's probably some really simple actions again that could be taken if we focus on a small group. So I'd be keen to hear if you've had any thoughts on how you might progress that. And I'll make one last point, which is a general one. Obviously, I think we're reviewing the strategy of the report. I had a quick read through. In terms of how we kind of report some of these actions in future, I can see the report is split into kind of two sections: council focused actions, and then I forget the name of the other group, but there's a forum, I think, isn't it? It's still not entirely clear in the council section to me where we're leading on some of these things, because we've got mental health involved in some of those some of the progress, and it's not clear, are we funding it? Are we playing a part in that? So I think for future reports, it would be really helpful to understand for some of those actions where we've played that role, because sometimes it's really clear and other times I can't quite see where we fed in. And I think it would just be really helpful for us to sort of see where we can plug some of those gaps. Diolch, Cadeirydd, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Percy. We'll have Craig to address your first item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to let you know, Councillor Percy, I'll pick up that issue with regards to members using Welsh, obviously, in various meetings. So the Democratic Services officers and I will update some of the briefing notes to give that sort of standard terminology and standard references for us to include. So we'll get that in action ready for chairs and other members for the next sort of set of scrutiny committees.
Thank you, Craig. Can I bring in Rhian Heaton, please, for the other two items that Councillor Percy brought up?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Regarding third-party community assets transfers, that is something that we would like to look at going forward. Obviously, times have escaped us over the last few years. I have to admit that. And yeah, I take your point, like to focus on a couple of key areas, as you rightly say, perhaps libraries. It may be something that our colleagues in the Environment Directorate can look at, and we will certainly look at ways in order to take that forward. In respect of the review and how we actually report actions going forward, I think our reporting and sort of our lead then role and the difference between what we do and what our partners do in the Language Forum, and as a forum themselves and as individual organisations that help us. I think that needs to be clearer in the review, sorry, not in the review, in the new strategy going forward, and it will be part of the review that we consider going forward. This, hopefully, fingers crossed, timelines permitting, we will get a strategy ready for publication next April, so that we will be looking at that very, very shortly. So I'll take those points on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhian, very much. I'd like to call next Councillor Rebecca Phillips, please.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Yeah, if we could start off just on page 61, point 4. While progress must be reported annually, there is no statutory annual reporting period, unlike many of the council's other plans or strategies. I'm just wondering the reasoning behind that, and I know the report does highlight the lack of progress, and I'm just wondering if this is something that can be changed. Diolch.
Yeah, could we come back to Rhian, please?
Thank you, Chair. There is nothing in the Welsh language standards that refer specifically to reporting periods. The standards say that we have to have a 5-year strategy, and we don't have a statutory deadline to report by, unlike the Strategic Equality Plan annual report. We have a statutory deadline for reporting on that, but we don't on the Welsh language promotion strategy, but we've tied it in with all our other reporting deadlines, and that's why it says we don't have a statutory requirement to report by. That's what I think that's what we mean by that. It doesn't mean to say we don't take it on seriously and we don't actually report on it.
Okay, thank you, Rhian. Thank you very much. Councillor Rebecca Phillips.
Yeah, thank you. So moving to page 71 or page 5 of the actual report, regarding considering the effects of new housing developments on the growth of Welsh medium education or the impact on Welsh-speaking communities. I know this is something that's been discussed in the Senedd as well, and it is actually a really important point. So I'm happy that it's been included in the report. I'm just wondering how we're going to be doing this, in the future, and who will actually be responsible for the monitoring of new housing developments and the impact on the language. Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Rhian, please.
I honestly can't answer that here and now, but I can certainly find that information out, and I think that would sort of lie with our planning department and education working closely together. I would suggest, but as I say, I will certainly find that out and come back to you with that.
Thank you, Rhian.
Yeah,
Councillor Phillips.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that'd be really helpful. As I said, it is a key issue, so I think it's important that we do put in place exactly how we're going to be monitoring it and who's going to be responsible. Otherwise, it's just something that's going to be, sidelined really, because we've got a lot of other priorities, obviously, to work on. So thank you for that, Rhian. Diolch. Moving to page 100 or page 34 of the report. 316, ensure that the fall in the percentage of Welsh speakers in the Swansea Valley is limited, with an action plan specifically designated for the area and working alongside Tir Gwryd to strategically impact on the area. And then it notes to date that there has been little significant progress on this action, and consideration will need to be given as to whether it remains relevant or if a more appropriate action should be developed. Firstly, I know there are lots of pressures and COVID and everything, but I'm just wondering whether there is a reason for a specific reason for lack of progress on that issue, and what is happening going forward. To me, this is an urgent issue that we need to tackle and not something that can further delay. So I'd just be interested on more information on that if possible, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Rhian, again, please.
That action falls under the auspices of the Language Forum, and I can certainly find that information out for you. The only information I had is what you see in front of you, but I can certainly find out any reasons why it hasn't been progressed as well as we'd hoped.
Thank you, Rhian. Councillor Phillips, would you like to come back?
Thank you. No, that's fine. Yeah, it's just the lack of detail, and I fully appreciate that different agencies are involved here as well. But I think it's important that members do receive this information, so we can consider the report in full. But yeah, diolch, thank you for that. Thanks, Chair. Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Next question, Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you. It was a follow-up on one of Sean Percy's, Councillor Percy's questions, which was, I think, I agree with him about the issues around the third sector, but the focus there was very specifically on asset transfer. In our end of the borough, we see much more supported third sector organisations by the council rather than asset transfer with community councils. So third sector perform a role and have built things up from the ground, so there isn't an asset transfer. Can we extend that, any support we give in terms of Welsh language, to those organisations that we fund, please, as well? and rather than just looking at the asset transfer.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Rhian, please.
Yes, we can look at all of these issues. I think the ideal time is when we look at the review of the strategy and build it into that and see what the thoughts are through the development of the strategy. But these are some things that we will consider going forward.
Thank you very much, Rhian. Councillor Reynolds, would you like to come back?
That's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, I switched off by mistake. Councillor Anthony Richards, please.
Great, diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Yeah, mine was, Councillor Rebecca Phillips asked one of the questions that I was going to ask on page 100 of the report with regards to T-Gwryd. But all of those points, I think, and I know, Rhian, you're going to go away and get some answers with regards to that, but I think all of those points in that section, we need to seek some clarification. The same thing can be said for 3.1.8 with regards to ensuring the sports clubs are supported to use Welsh as a natural language and encourage the use of Welsh in informal and formal club settings. Again, to date, there's been little significant progress, and they don't know whether or not it's going to be relevant going forward. So, you know, similar to the point that was made above, you know, can we get all of those sort of looked into? Because, yeah, it is quite vague, and, you know, we don't want some of these things to just fall and not be explored. So it would be nice to seek some clarification on that.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. Rhian again, please.
Yes, we certainly will. Our relationship and our working relationship with the Language Forum is a key factor going forward, and it will need to be sort of strengthened, I suppose, is the best way of describing that going forward in the next strategy, and it is something that we are looking at.
Thank you, Rhian. Councillor Richards, would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I think that cohesive approach of working with, you know, working with the Welsh Forum is essential moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. Are there any more questions on the item, please? I don't see anybody's hand up, so we just comes to the recommendation, which is listed on page 63 of the Cabinet sub-agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
Chair.
Thank you, Chris. And seconder, please.
I'll second, Chair. Councillor Ken Phillips.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you both. Just picking that up then. If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported Cabinet sub. I don't see any hands raised, so we will take that forward to the Cabinet subcommittee. Thank you. Moving along. Agenda item 4, forward working programme. This item is for noting. As you're aware, the forward work programme is currently blank. The Democratic Services Officer will be organising a forward work programme session to allow us to consider and populate the forward work programme. Over to Charlotte, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As you just mentioned, the forward work programme is currently empty, and I'll work in the background to make sure a forward work programme session is set up to allow yourselves to populate it. Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Charlotte. Agenda item 5, urgent items. That is all the decisions we have chosen to scrutinise in public session this morning. Returning to our scrutiny agenda, I have no urgent items. We have no further items. That ends the business for today. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you for attending this morning, and I'll try and work on my Welsh phrases as well personally. Okay, thank you everyone.
Da iawn, Cadeirydd.